In this video, we're going to be talking about IELTS Writing Task 1 for line graphs, bar charts, and tables. This is a little review to help my students write the short report. We'll be looking at the introduction, the overview, and the two body paragraphs so they can complete the 150-word report that they must complete in about 20 minutes. Remember, this report is to describe and compare the main features. There's some very important things you need to remember, like do not write a conclusion. In some future reports that teachers will ask you to write, you may need a conclusion, but for this one you don't. Also, it's very important to not try to explain why the data is what it is. Just report and compare the information that is given in the chart. And also, sometimes the charts have lots of information. Don't try to write about all of the information shown. Only focus on the main features and the significant trends. So let's start with the introduction. So here we're presented with a chart, and the first thing I want to notice to write my introduction is, well, it's clearly a line graph. Okay, that's out of the way. Second, we're looking at the language options selected by 13-year-old students in a school in England. It's really important we understand some of the key words so we can paraphrase. And I see the words like options. Options does not mean requirements. Options mean choices. Students in England. Well, when I see students in England, students from England are called British. So we can say students in a school in England, and we can paraphrase that to British students in school. Third, the x-axis. And here we're looking at time from 2000 to present. And then the y-axis. And here is interesting. We want to see, are we talking about dollars? Are we talking about percentages? No, it's stated very clearly. We're looking at number of students. And the legend. The legend is referring to the colors of the lines, the blue and the pink. The blue represents French, and the pink represents Mandarin. And it's extra points for you if you know that Mandarin refers to Chinese. Mandarin is a type of Chinese language. It's not necessary, but again, that would be a really helpful way to paraphrase that information. And so we want to put those 5 pieces of information together into coherent sentences, and that is going to make up your introduction. Next, and what I think is the most important part of the writing, is the overview. And in the overview, we're looking for the main trends. What is the significant data? And what I tell my students is we want to think of a checklist. So what has increased the most? What has decreased the most? And what has stayed the same? And what has fluctuated? The first thing I notice about this chart, and I really want to stop and take a minute to examine it and look for a pattern. And well, the most obvious to me is that over time, French decreased dramatically, and Chinese increased dramatically. And this decrease and increase happened over a few years and kind of then leveled off or became stable at around 2005. So that's significant. The other thing that's significant is that overall, French remained, and it was and is more popular than Chinese. So my overview just wants to describe what is a significant trend that can be observed. So it might look like this. Overall, the number of British students studying French decreased from 2000 to 2005 and then leveled off, while at the same time, the number of British students studying Chinese increased. On the whole, more students studied French than Chinese. And the overview is so important because the first main trend that I identify here becomes the main idea for my first body paragraph. Because at this point, I've not shared any numbers or details. The numbers and details, that is left for the body paragraph. The second main trend that I identify here is going to be the main idea for my second body paragraph. And really, I think that identifying that main trend by looking for a pattern is the most difficult part of this task. Because once I do that, now all I need to do is describe it. Just imagine that the reader is not looking at the chart and just reading your text. The question is, does your text match the information from the chart? So your first body paragraph might look like this. In 2000, around 150 British students studied French. By 2005, this number decreased dramatically to nearly 90. After 2005, the number remained stable between 90 and 100 students until present. Despite the decrease, the number of British students studying French remained higher than the amount of students studying Chinese. So that body paragraph is just consistent with the chart and what I identified in the overview. I'm going to do the same thing for the second body paragraph, but instead I'm going to focus more heavily on the second line, which is about Chinese language. That body paragraph could look like this. In 2000, the number of students studying Chinese was fewer than 20. The number rapidly increased in the years between 2000 and 2005. It went from under 20 to close to 80. After 2005, the number of students studying Chinese stabilized, but was still lower than the number of students studying French. I hope you thought that was helpful. I think it's important to model the writing to take the mystery out of it. All we're trying to do is describe the basic features, give an overview, and then describe that overview in more details. I also want to mention, I don't pretend that this essay that I modeled for you is a band score 9. I do think it does show some level of competence to match the graphical information with my text. Could I write this better? Absolutely. But I just want to give you, maybe for some of you, a starting point of what you can do. I can see very easily how I could have used the word learn instead of study. I realize how I could have added a bit more detail comparing the actual numbers. I get it. But take this as a structure, and then you decide how you'd want to improve upon it in your own way. With that, I want to say thank you very much for your attention. And if you made it to the end of this video, I want to say thank you very much. Maybe you're interested in these type of lessons, so why not hit that subscribe button? And I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.